Yeah.
It's cool-ish. It's cool-ish.
So there's an expression for that out in the outback, and that's called Kimberley cool.
Kimberley cool. I like
It's
that.
just below room temperature.
About a fist away from you, but don't stick it up.
So sort of like up here.
There you go.
Happy?
You
Okay.
can see yourself. There you go. And that's the panache that we need. All right, let me pour this beer. And keep an eye on the time. There we go. 5:30. It's the only cold beer we got. So chew your food. You are looking at the last of petty cash. Chew your food. Oh, fucking Bill Murray, man, isn't he boss? Every time I see a Bill Murray scene, I think of you.
Oh, really?
Every time.
I think Bill Murray, when he passes away, he will go the way of... Do you remember Men in Black?
Yeah.
Do you remember when they go through the tunnel? Mm-hmm. Tommy Lee Jones presses a button and the car transforms, goes upside down in the tunnel, and they hit 88 miles an hour. And Will Smith hasn't got his seatbelt on. He's fucking around. And Tommy Lee Jones, in the Tommy Lee Jones voice, like pushes the cassette in. Or 8-track. I think it might be 8-track.
Yeah.
Elvis comes on.
Mm-hmm.
You know Elvis is dead, man. Elvis isn't dead. He just went home.
Yeah.
Bill Murray will never pass away. He'll just go home.
Yeah, wow. That's deep, man. That's very deep.
Bill Murray is the gold standard for comedian walking into film.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because there's certainly a massive bridge there for guys like that. Because they're generally not accepted by the norm.
No.
No way.
Because they're kind of like people that break the mold. Bill Murray, Belushi.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Bill Hicks.
Oh, Bill Hicks is way ahead of his time.
Bill Hicks is a god. He's you know what the greatest thing about Bill Hicks is? He's a prophet pretending to be a comedian. And there's people laughing at his philosophy, but it's some super deep shit.
It is.
And it still resonates now. Tool sampled it for songs. You imagine if Bill Hicks was alive today and he went through... He was very big on politics.
Yeah.
And he spoke a lot about the American administration.
Yeah, especially the Republicans. He did not have a good thing to say about that.
So he passed away of pancreatic cancer in 1994.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if Bill Hicks didn't pass away from pancreatic cancer in 1994.
Would be a better place, I can tell you that.
Imagine if he was around looking for material to speak about, to talk about, and his favourite
George
president,
Bush Jr. gets in.
Yes, his favourite president of all time gets elected. The governor from Texas is now running the country just like his dear old dad.
Oh, man. When he got elected, I just felt Bill Hicks turning in his grave.
Dude, you know what? I'm going to listen to Arizona Bay. I'm going to listen to Relentless.
Totally. I did the same thing.
All of them, all over again, man.
Yeah.
And those kind of guys that have gone so far in, they've come out the other side so aware of everything in the universe that most of what they're talking about goes over the heads of all of us. And there's people out there like that.
Bill, look,
what's his
Bill
name
Hicks
that
woke
played-
me up, though. He woke me up.
Dude.
Really did.
And Joaquin
Not
Phoenix.
in a woke way, but in a wake-up way.
Joaquin Phoenix. Watch the Academy Awards when he got up and played Joker and accepted the Academy Award. There is not another speech in Hollywood that even holds a candle to the speech that Joaquin Phoenix did for his portrayal of Joker. He is so far through the other side. He's come out. Russell Brand.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's
Russell
another one of
Brand
those guys.
dropped
Yeah.
in and he's come out the other side, and people love him. But most of what he's talking about, if you really tune in, you're like, this is some hectic, full-on, really not woke, awoken shit.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't mean it as in the word woke, because
No.
that's a word that's been hijacked.
It's this being extraordinarily self-aware to the point where no one can actually approach you and tell you about you because you're so aware
You
of
already
yourself.
know.
You're aware of what influences you. You're aware of what comes out of you. And you're aware that this, whatever this is an existence that you're not an individual. You're the universe having a human experience.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, experiencing it, I think he said it, experiencing itself subjectively. There's no such thing as death. Life is only a dream, and we're the imagination of ourselves. Here's Tom with the weather.
All matter is just a slow vibration condensed
to a slow vibration. Yeah, again, sampled in Third Eye. Bill Hicks was a trailblazer. I think Russell Brand is definitely a trailblazer as well. I think he's really in tune with the human condition and what it means to be human. And I think a lot of things that we are upset about in the world is the fact that we've forgotten that we're human.
So Black Dog Institute have got this amazing little blurb they've got on their website. And as you read down it, when you get down the page, it says 1 in 5 Australians will suffer from poor mental health. If you do that statistic and put a number on it, you're looking at somewhere around 4.5 to 4.75 million people are going to have a real shitty time. That's a lot of people.
It's a lot.
1 in 5. So if that goes worldwide, and we're at 7 billion people, and we're talking about 1 in 5, so what are we talking? 1.5, 1.6, 1.7 billion people are going to be in a place where they feel they can't handle what they're experiencing in their own lives. How are we getting it so wrong? Should we go back to school and take trigonometry out and talk about mental health first aid?
Well, I think there's something in that. There's definitely something in that. Like, what are we teaching in school, man? Like, if you think about things that we know as adults, right? Taxation, for instance. Mortgages.
Okay. I love where you're going to go with this.
Mortgages, right? This is just standard stuff.
So let's do an audit.
You're not talking about standard stuff. You're talking about stuff that is important for human ingenuity and movement. But they don't even do the basic stuff.
Let's go through the curriculum. Let's get rid of everything we don't need what we teach at schools, and let's go. This week we're going to talk about mental health. This is how we have a hard conversation with someone when we're not feeling well. This is how we identify with someone when you think your friend is acting differently and they're not well. How you direct them to a organisation or an individual that could give them the tools or the assets to help them through that time. This week we're going to talk about budgeting. How much do you make? I make $1,000 a week. Before or after tax?
Gross? Net?
Before. Okay, so you've got to take tax out of that. Do you live at home with your parents or a sibling or a loved one, or do you have to rent? Or are you going to buy? Do you know what stamp duty is? Do you know how much registration you pay a year? Are you going to have insurance? Do you know how much insurance costs? When you get out of school, when you drop out of school, when you go to university, when you do one of a million different choices that we have as humans, specifically in Australia.
Oh, and just in Western culture in general, yeah.
We drop into society. I know that A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Mad.
Well, they told us at
crickets.
They told us at high school, you got to put the calculator away because there's not going to be a day where you have a calculator in your pocket every day.
No. There's going to be a calculator, a word processor, an internet browser, a MP3 player.
Shit, man! I can look through the center of the Earth, right? Because there's now because I do astronomy stuff, right? Which sounds really erotic. I do astronomy stuff.
So I'm a Libra, and I'm actually a Pisces moon and Taurus rising.
Yeah, I do astronomy stuff, right? And no, but when I'm looking for stars specifically, if I don't know a star, you can just hold your phone up to the sky with this certain app.
Yes.
And then I realised if you point it at the ground,
you go down the other side.
You can see through the Earth to the other stars.
The Northern Hemisphere. All
That's
the
right.
cool constellations.
My phone can see through the Earth.
And look at stars, which are actually, most of them, except for about 4 or 5 in the visible sky, are suns.
Yeah.
That have their
That's what my phone
own
does.
planets that rotate around them.
Not just a calculator. It's not just a calculator.
What's that guy that started Microsoft? Bill Gates?
Bill Gates, yeah.
Wasn't he quoted as saying no one at home will ever need more than 250K of RAM? 250K.
K.
K.
Is that even a thing anymore? Can we do that? Is that possible?
250K would be like an A4 notepad.
Oh, dude, 250K, you can't do fuck all. Actually, you can do a lot with 250K. You can land on the moon with 250K.
We've actually lost the technology, the learning, the mathematics language that we landed on the moon with.
Get the fuck out of here. Oh, that sounds so true.
So there's that. What's the name of that amazing movie with the 3 African American women that can't even use the toilet on sites?
Oh, that's right. They were writing the algorithms
algorithms and they
to
did
land on the moon.
Backup math for
like the hardest part as well. It wasn't just navigating to the moon, but one of the hardest parts is landing on the thing.
Dude, I'm
that sort of thing.
I'm a pretty big, strong, hard guy, and I teared up in that movie, man. That was some cool shit, eh? That was some cool shit.
Oh, definitely. I like those sort of movies though, where they're coming over adversity, man. And when I mean they, I mean anybody. Because, like, you know, not everyone gets a fair shot at the bin. You know what I mean? You know, and that's what an opportunity is. If everyone has an opportunity, we can do something with that. If we all have an equal opportunity, well, that's never going to end up as an equal opportunity. If we can try to make an equal opportunity, at least we're doing better.
There's equality and justice. So equality is everyone goes to the footy, but you're back in the crowd. So to help everyone out with equality, we give everyone a milk crate to stand on. Okay. So the short people and the tall people, the short people can't see over the crowd with the milk crate they've been given, but the tall people kill it. Justice is giving the shorter people the taller milk crate and the tall people the shorter milk crate. And I think sometimes when we advocate to make the world a better place, I think our terminology sometimes gets a little bit befuddled.
This is the one you're talking about, yeah?
That's it, man. That's it. That's the image. So that's
let me make this
equity and equality, or as I like to talk about, it's equality and what is old school justice.
That's the line. Let's have a look at this. Like, I know what you're talking about.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So equality versus equity.
Yes.
And I think we need to move. We can't. Equality is not going to work.
No,
because our circumstances are all different.
Yes.
So it needs to be equitable.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. And don't get me wrong, that's a 1,600,000,000 conversation with the rest of the humans that will inhabit this earth until you know that meteorite hits us or the sun burns out, whatever happens first. So, but look, as long as we're trying to be the best version of ourselves during this very short little blip of time we have on this rock. That's the best anyone can do.
It is a very small amount of time, man. It really is. Is my button still working? Yeah, good. It's still working. It's a small amount of time. Like, you think about it, okay. So if you take a 12-hour clock and you say that this is the entire age of the Earth, humans have been here for 4 seconds.
Yep.
Modern science has been here for less than a quarter of a second. So if you look at the age of the Earth as a 12-hour clock, we've been our understanding of art, science, consciousness in general is about a second.
Yes.
And the most rambunctious of that shit is a quarter of a second, where we go, hey man, I want to go to the moon. Let's do that, right? That's only been a quarter of a second of the age of the Earth. If you do that scale for the universe, that 12 o'clock clock is blown the fuck away. So
it's interesting to talk about the moon. Okay. From the Wright brothers flying, to us landing on the moon, that was 60 years. Okay. When did we evolve from primates to making fire, wearing loincloth? I don't know, 200,000 years ago, 150,000 years ago. Okay. We think, at best guess, from these extraordinarily intelligent people we have, the Earth is about 4 billion years old.
Yep.
4 billion years old. Righto. Let's talk about how big a billion is for 2 seconds. If I was going to give you $5,000 a day and I want to make Ross Page, my very good friend I've known for 20 years, a millionaire.
It has been 20 years. I want $1 million. This is all very good.
I'm going to give you $5,000 a day for 6 months. And you, Ross, will be a millionaire.
Yeah, okay.
There you go.
That sounds good.
If I want to make you a billionaire, I have to give you $5,000 a day for 36 years.
Yeah, that's right.
We've been on this planet for what? 100, 150 to 200,000 years. This planet's been around for 4 billion years. The space of time that we have occupied that consciously.
It's interesting you're talking about this.
Right.
Because you're talking about a concept of a million and a billion, right? Right. I've heard this before. Like, if you take, and I've done this test with a few people now, and it blows their mind. Some people get it right, some people get it wrong. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong answers until we get to the end of this journey, all right? So, conversion of numbers generally brings perspective, right? So, 1,000,000 seconds. How long is 1,000,000 seconds? Convert it for me.
If I don't have my calculator
you don't have a calculator in your pocket. No, but without a calculator, 10 seconds. Give me a number.
1,000,000 seconds would be, I don't know, it's like a fortnight, 10 days.
10 days?
Is it?
That's a great fucking answer.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's a super fucking answer. The answer is 11 days.
Oh, sweet, okay.
That is the best answer I've ever gotten about it, right?
Can you ring Noel Mitchener from my year 10 mathematics and just let him know Ben Hewlett doesn't apply himself? Like, shit.
Like, fuck, bro.
I'm 42 years old and I'm... Oh, yeah, we won't go into that. But yeah.
All right. Well, let's
11 days.
let's. Okay, so we got 11 days at 1 million seconds. So let's do 1 billion seconds. How long is 1 billion seconds?
It'd be... I don't know. It'd be a couple of years. It'd be a few
Yeah, throw a dart at it.
years.
Throw a dart at it. What have you got?
2 years?
2 years. That's a good answer. But it is. Oh shit! Now I've forgotten it. 31 years.
Is it 31 years?
Yeah, 31 years. So the difference between 1 million seconds and 1 billion seconds isn't days, it's years. All right, let's go up another level. Trillion.
Mm-hmm.
Trillion seconds, how long?
Oh, now I'm stuffed. So, if you go from 11 days and
26
you
years,
go 30,
carry the one.
and you go trillion, then that would have to be something like you'd be into tens of thousands of years.
26,000 years. So let's
From a
put that into
billion to
monetary
a
terms.
trillion.
Okay, so throughout your life, it is reasonable to assume, it is totally reasonable for you to assume that you will own a house outright one day.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably going to be worth $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Your entire lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
$1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You might even be really fortunate and be worth $2 million before you die. Who knows?
Mm.
It might be worth double that. Who knows? So the difference between you and a billionaire is 31 years. Right? But the difference between Jeff Bezos and that billionaire is 26,000 years.
That's
Fucking
hectic.
insane. What it takes us 11 days to do, he's got 26,000 years to think about it, if you think about it that way. It's fucking crazy, man. Because when you're talking about equality and equity, I think these things come into play. Like, don't get me wrong, I think we should be going towards making the solar system populated by humans. I think that's a great idea. It's not about us destroying the Earth and having somewhere else to live. It's beyond that. That's a shitty dream.
I think it's an understanding
Yeah.
of what we exist in, because the minute speck that we occupy in the vastity, like that's...
It's a small number, dude.
It's
a very small number.
The first couple of minutes or the first few pages of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy should be year 10 curriculum.
It should be. I agree. It's a brilliant book.
You should understand how insignificant we are in the whole space of the universe. I think that's an amazingly humble perspective to have.
I've got a few of these. You know me well, and you know I've got a few of these humbling ideas. But I won't bore the audience with like the 100 ideas that I have in the cornucopia of Ross's crazy mind. But the shine of a billiard ball, right? Been playing a lot of pool lately.
Oh yes,
Shine of a billiard ball, right?
Yeah.
The variation on the shine of a billiard ball is greater than the Marianas Trench to Mount Everest. So
Yep.
the Earth, by contrast, is smoother than a billiard ball. We live on the shine of that billiard ball.
Yep.
On the shine of that billiard ball.
Yep.
On what Carl Sagan would have described as a faint blue dot. A really cool thing that they did a long time ago was photograph the Earth from the orbit of Neptune.
Yes.
All right, let me see if I can pull this up. I'll pull this one up while I was at it. Let me put this to line for you. You'll like this one. Just remember where we're at. Because you were talking about the moon before, right? And we were talking about dreaming about traveling to space, right? So if you look at this image here is from a film
In early 1900s.
in the early 1900s about us going to the moon.
Yes.
And a bullet lands into, which looks very familiar,
Yep.
right? That canister in the moon there looks very familiar, right?
Yep.
That was 100 years.
Yep.
Before. 60 years before.
Yep.
60 years later, Stanley Kubrick made a film.
Yep.
Called Space Odyssey 2001.
One.
Never had before that had the Earth been photographed.
Yes.
Right? Oh, gotta get me switcher back. I'm back. We're back. There we go. Never before had the Earth been photographed like that, and it wasn't until 1967 that they got to space and photographed the moon. Photographed the Earth from the moon and got the actual full image of it.
Yes.
My point is that before that, in film, we dreamed about landing in the ocean after leaving the moon.
Yes.
We then dreamed about going to the moon and then doing the same thing again. And a year later, we actually did it.
Yes.
So the dream was in art before it was anywhere else.
So the expression is, from what I understand, that science fiction is the precursor to science fact.
Totally. That is, because you talked about the Wright brothers before, right? Do you think when the Wright brothers built their aircraft, that they thought that, one day someone's going to strap bombs to this bad boy, and level cities, and we're going to stand by that and be really proud of that? Do you think that's what went through their head, or did they look at humans and go, do you know what? We can fly.
Yeah. This is our advancement to the sky.
This is how we get there.
Yeah.
They were dreamers, man.
Yeah.
Everyone told them they were crazy. Build a plane out of bike parts, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Right?
Einstein.
I'm
trying to unlock the secrets of the universe just from sitting around and thinking, not going, you know what would happen if we split an atom at its nucleus and weaponise that?
That
wasn't the thought he had. There was a patent clerk from Austria that was thinking about unlocking the universe and all these secrets in the universe. He wasn't being pretentious. He wasn't being a warmonger. You are.
Here it is. I've pulled it up. You've already seen what I've pulled up. If it works.
Come on,
it's not going to work. Here we go.
No, there it is. There
it is there. I'll pull that to line. So you're talking about the Earth being a blue dot, right? And I'm just going to get the line. I'm sorry, guys. I'm self-producing tonight. I'm working on it. There we go. There it is. Okay, so that little dot there is less than a pixel. So that's when Voyager 2 turned... It was very controversial. They wanted to turn Voyager 2 around to photograph Earth. And they were really worried about doing that because they go, we could lose the craft. It may get pulled into Neptune's orbit and it may fuck it up. And, we got this expensive CD on it. Record for those that are a little bit older.
Yep.
Vinyl record. No, it was a gold vinyl.
You can buy a replica of that. Someone produces it. Anyway, I'm digressing.
But this pale blue dot is where we live. And we live on the shine of that little blue dot. That little blue dot will fit inside the sun 1,000,000 times. Think about that. And our sun is one of the smallest suns you can come across. It's not a dwarf star. There's other smaller suns, don't get me wrong.
One of the largest stars that we know about that exists, its diameter is Saturn's orbit around our sun.
Yeah. Which is, I don't know how many astrons. I'd have to look that up. Astronomical units.
All of them.
Yeah.
It's hectic.
Well, you think about the Earth, right? One Earth rotation around the sun, with the sun in the middle, that is one astron.
Yes.
So when you hear the word astronomical, that's what it means. So you can calculate to Saturn. I think Saturn is 6 astrons. So 6 astrons. As a sphere. We're not talking about a disc. We're talking about a sphere.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy, bro.
Melbourne Museum used to have this amazing full mechanised orbit of our solar system that was probably about half the size of Pagey Train Studio. Sun in the middle. Our moon.
It's a pretty big studio, man. It's pretty big. It's huge.
Massive. is
constantly growing and actually accelerating with the universe.
And they had the moon geared around the Earth so it would rotate correctly and it would go around the sun. Yeah. It didn't have all the moons around Jupiter, Neptune, and Saturn because who the friggin' hell could build that?
Yeah.
But it showed the space and time of what all the other planets took to put around our solar system.
I know these numbers.
And these
crazy.
Are planets that we can see. And comparative on the scale of the size of what we can't see. But
let me spin you out a little bit. Okay, so when you look at... it's easy to find Jupiter in the sky. It's a frequently targeted object, right? You fit 1,000 Earths inside of Jupiter.
Yep.
Jupiter will complete a day...
Yes.
In 10 hours.
It's been hectic fast, hasn't it?
Super fast.
Yeah.
I've actually watched it spin in an optic. So I've watched it turn.
Through the big girl you got
Yeah.
Really?
I've watched it turn.
Yeah.
I've watched that planet turn, dude. And it will do it from one end to the aperture of the other. So you have to put in the top right of your aperture.
And watch it turn.
And then as it gets to the bottom of the aperture, you'll notice that it has turned.
So imagine what the gravitational pull is if it's spinning that fast.
Okay, so if the Jupiter's magnetosphere was visible,
yes,
it would be the largest object in the sky. It would probably, I think it's about, if you look at the moon, it would be 6 of them.
Jesus.
That's how big its magnetosphere is. if you
remember that if you go skydiving.
yeah,
on
shit,
Jupiter.
man, it rains diamonds on Jupiter. That's how fucking much pressure's there.
And people kill themselves over that on planet.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of pressure
Earth.
there. No, but speaking about a lot of pressure, you brought up Black Dog before.
Yep.
I have the pleasure of having you in the studio today. It's always a pleasure having you around. Like, you always come around every couple of times a year, which is fantastic. I totally owe you a visit, by the way.
All good, bro.
But you're actually on a journey at the moment and sponsored by Black Dog.
So
What's the deal? Tell us the deal. You rocked up to my house in a Harley, which is a gorgeous-looking Harley. I live in a bit of a crime-prone area. Hello. What are you doing?
glitchy.
We're going a bit glitchy. Let's just fix that. I live in a bit of a not dodgy area. I don't want to say that, but
Let's just say it's West Sydney and it's colourful.
it's colourful. We'll go with that.
It's a lot of things and it's never dull.
So we got that Harley up on the ridiculous driveway that I have.
Yeah.
What's the deal with the ridiculous Harley, and why are you here, and what are you doing?
Okay, so my name's Ben, and one of the things I like to do is go out and ride motorbikes. And I ride motorbikes. I don't know whether that's probably something I inherited. I'm a mechanic by trade, not a very good one, but I still like working on things, riding motorbikes. So when my mental health isn't great, there is nothing that makes me feel more centered, quicker, and better than going for a ride on a motorbike. Past 16 years, I've been on a fairly up and down, hectic mental health journey, and we're good mates, so you're very privy to all this.
Yeah, totally, man. As have I.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sitting back and I'm talking to a mate of mine, Redmond, who used to do the thong slappers. He lives up in Townsville.
Thong slappers.
Yeah, and Red talks about, I'll come down to Victoria, I'll grab you, we'll get on our bikes and go to Tasmania. And I'm like, Tasmania would be a really good trip. I really like the thought of going to Tasmania and hanging out down there. And then I'm like, you're going to come from Townsville to Victoria and pick me up. What if I rode to Townsville? That'd be a pretty good ride. There's a lot of good beaches, a lot of good scenery. Oh, what if I take the coast road only? So I go from Echuca in Victoria down to Melbourne, down to Phillip Island, and I hug the coast, Malakuta, Eden, right round, swing hard round on the outside, look at all the beautiful beaches, stay on the roads, but every time there's a good beach, go and have a look at it. That'd be a really cool ride. What if I did that a week at a time, and then I flew back and I had my kids I have my kids 7 days out of every fortnight. What if I did that all the way to Townsville? That'd be pretty cool. What if I did that all the way to Townsville, and rather than being a self-indulgent wanker on a motorbike, maybe I could raise some money for mental health, which, I've done a bit of fundraising before for a few different bits and pieces. I've had very poor mental health myself at times in my life. There's people out there that I know and love that have had rough times, and there's organisations such as Black Dog who I absolutely adore what they do. What if I rode to Townsville, and on the way I spoke about my mental health journey, took a few photos, me out on the road with the bike, here's money I'm raising for the Black Dog Institute, and I just sort of, and this is, don't get me wrong, this is lying in bed late at night, can't sleep for a couple of hours going, oh, maybe I could do this, maybe this would be cool.
It's strange how that happens, though, isn't it? Like, it comes about, like, when you are laying in bed at night.
Overactive imaginations.
Overactive imaginations, and then you end up doing something crazy. I think we were talking about this off air before. Once you start enrolling people in your idea, and you're like, oh, man, now they're enrolled in this idea, and it's a good idea, and I have to do this thing.
It forces you to be committed to it. So, exactly like you're saying, so I thought, I spoke to Nick Niven and I spoke to my mum, and they both were very big supporters, and they said, do it. Absolutely do it. So, I spoke to my kids about it. I said, I'm going to do this. I threw it all together, put some social media posts up the day before I left, and I said, this is my target, $1,600, which works out to like 50 cents per kilometre. If I reach this for Black Dog, that'd be amazing to sort of support those guys and all the programs they put out in the world. Went to bed that night, woke up 4:30 in the morning. I was a bit excited because I was like, oh, shit, I'm going to go do this ride. This is cool. Woke up in the morning. I've already reached my target. I'm like, oh, what? People are just going, yeah.
What do you mean overnight? You just, like, because you put out, what did you want, $1,600?
$1,600. So I went to bed at 10 o'clock, and there was a couple of people.
And you already hit it?
My son, Noah, and I looked at it when we went, he went to bed at like 8:30, and it was like $500. And Noah was like, oh, Dad, you've already got $500. I'm like, yeah, mate, how good's this? Woke up in the morning, I'm at $1,600. I'm like, I'm going to have to...
Fuck.
When am I lost for words? I will talk to anyone about anything, and I'm not sitting there like...
Absolutely.
And then I went down to have lunch with the boys from Street Machine magazine. Who
I was just pulling them up
very
before.
good
Yeah, let me
personal
pull them up again.
friends. Yeah, drag it up. They're really good friends of mine. And all I did was drop in to see the boys, to say good day. Scotty Taylor, amazing human being.
I think here he is here. Yeah,
There he is. Look at that
yeah.
good-looking human. And all I did was drop in to see Scotty to have lunch. And Scotty goes, "Oh, pull your bike in." I'm like,
and
okay.
and I like the name on the bike, by the way, Ken Oath.
We're gonna get to Ken. And Scotty drags me in, and all of a sudden he goes, "Oh man, we're gonna do a little clip for you and throw it up to support you for your ride." I'm like, "Oh, you don't have to do that. That's okay." And he goes, "No, I want to do it." So the boys throw up.
There it is, Street Machine. You're straight on their site, man. That's
so the boys put
killer.
me up on their site, and I got a heap. And all of a sudden, all this other money come into the website for Black Dog, and then Scotty turns around, and him and Talf have both thrown $500 at me.
Yeah.
And again, I'm like laughing. I don't know what to do. But one of the ones, and then proceeded down my way to Phillip Island that night. Mm-hmm. One of the ones that I did think about, Desert Ken Oath is this amazing human. Mm-hmm. He's very big on Australiana. He's very big on Australian culture. So he's got this clothing brand, and it's cars and bikes and surf and Australian culture. And and he has some amazing ladies on there that model for him, and it's everything that we really love and encompass about Australian culture. So he's got
the bronze heroes, the beach hero, but then the motorhead hero, and all of these kind of ideas.
You know, remember Chico Rolls?
Yeah, man.
Like he used Chico Roll, and he put Ken Oath as the logo in that. AC/DC Ken Oath. Anyway, so I got
if you're not getting the pun here, you really need to listen to more podcasts.
Ken Oath.
Fucking oath, mate.
Anyway, so I rang Des. I sent Des a message, and I'm like, "Dude, I'm thinking about doing this." And he got back to me, and he goes, "What can I do?" Like, when you're a little fella and you grow up, everyone wants their own T-shirt. Yeah, totally. And now, if you get on the Ken Oath website and look it up, there is a Benny's Coast Run T-shirt, which has a picture of the Ken Oath Harley Softail Nightster on the T-shirt.
Okay.
For crying out friggin' loud. So, so Des has been amazing. The Ken Oath brand has travelled with me for this Black Dog fundraiser. And look, I've already done, we're up to about 1,650 Ks, 1,700 Ks.
That's shit, man. That's a long way.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm not even a third of the way through it, man. I'm heading to Townsville, and I'm looking at all the beaches I can on the way, as long as I don't need a submarine. And the great
no
thing,
pun intended.
The great thing about it is we're in this period in 2022 where we're allowed to move around our country again and interact and see each other. So I get to see all my friends again. So I feel really selfish because I've got my bike that I'm flogging up and down the road like the devil chasing souls. I get to stay with all my friends and catch up with them that I haven't seen in a couple of years. And I'm raising money for this institute that I think is doing the most important thing on the face of the earth, which is the preservation and enlightenment of human life.
Oh man, that's sweet. That is really sweet. And of course you're doing this. Of course you are. And then I know that I've said this before, and I may have even said this before on the podcast in the last episode that we did together a couple of years ago. But you're someone that I shook hands with that I knew. I'm going to be friends with you for life. I knew it straight there and then.
That's when I walked into First Battalion Workshops.
You rocked up at a Monaro,
HQ
Monaro. I don't think it had centre lines on it, but my memory says that it had centre lines.
I think it did. I think it did.
Did it have centre lines?
It was still maroon.
It has some Boss mags on it, whatever it was, but my memory serves as a centre line on it. Like whatever it was, it rocked up like a steely-eyed fucking missile man.
2001.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And I remember you rocking up in this car. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy, man? Balls to the wall. Man, because I don't know if Marty was there at the time, our sergeant. I don't know.
No, Marty wasn't there. Mick was away.
Yeah.
You were there.
Oh, Mick Bitters, yeah.
Pete was there.
Yeah,
Jeb was there.
Yeah.
Maddie was there.
Oh, yeah. The Fabby.
Was Big Adam there at the time?
Gorgeous George.
We've lost gorgeous George. Cole was there. Like, that was a good... Stritty.
Yeah, Stritty was there, yeah.
Gribbs.
Yeah, Gribbs.
That was a good crew. Lovey.
Yeah, man, you're taking me back. You're taking me back.
That was a good crew, man. That was a good workshop.
Oh, dude, that... it was those moments in life that really shaped me as a man. They really did, because I was there as a child. I was a total child when I was in Wanaria.
Yeah.
And then I realised that I was a young boy when I went to the Special Forces. I'm like, oh, wow, I've done all this training.
Oh, dude, we were only there a year, and you went down the road, and then you went over to Perth.
Yeah. And then I started serving over there, and I was doing like sit-ups and doing chin-ups to get myself ready for the onslaught that was coming. But there's nothing that can compare to that. It just isn't. Their fitness regime... Man, you're a professional athlete. There's no other way around it.
There's fit,
and then there's
special forces.
Fucking fit.
Yeah.
And I remember being at the end of the tail, running with these guys, like, I'm not gonna make it.
Yeah.
I can't do this.
Yeah,
I thought I could.
You're happy to put your hand up and go, I actually choose death.
Yeah. No, I just want out. Like, how do I get out of this? Like, I don't know what I've done here. I've signed up for this, and worst part about it, it was my choice. I chose to be here. In fact, I pushed for the idea. Then, 6 months passes, you get fitter, you get better, and then someone else gets posted in, and they have that look on their face.
And you don't realise how fit you are until the new
guy shows up.
And the new guy nearly dies, and you're like, man, that
was
us.
Yeah, but you can't tell him though.
No.
You can't tell him that.
Because it'll break him.
Yeah. You can't tell him that. You
gotta
let him go through that.
Got to build him up.
Yeah, it is like in the Special Forces. Like, there's no such thing as like really orders being issued. There really isn't.
No, it's all.
You know your job. You know your job. You go and do it.
Yeah,
and it's that simple. There's no yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir. They don't do that.
No,
they just don't do that.
No,
it's all based on disappointment.
Yeah.
We put you in this role. I'm on camera. Good.
You're here to excel.
Yeah. You know your job. Why are we telling you your job for? It's unfortunate that we have to have this conversation. We expected more. Yep. And that's where you'll end up.
Yep.
There's people that make it, and there's people that don't.
Yep.
And the people that don't make it, you never hear from them ever again. They're just gone. They're just gone. They're just gone.
Ether.
But when you take up the bit in that organisation, I must say, it shapens you. You become shapened. But with that said, though, it comes with a element of torment. You're going to see things that are going to have an effect on your life.
Yep.
Even before that, just as a general soldier in the military, if you're in a combat unit that's forward operating, even in a support unit, you're going to experience these things.
Yeah.
Where you go on deployment, you know that your life is at risk. That is a slow burn that burns away at you. And when people ask me about PTSD, because this is what we're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Black Dog getting on this bike and raising awareness for these things. And I find that PTSD, the best way I can describe it to someone is it's an identity crisis.
Okay.
It's not just that, but there's a good way for a civilian to understand. And like when I was in the Special Forces, I had a multi-million-dollar credit card.
Yep.
I had all the special toys that go with going on forward operations.
Yep.
Including body armor. Like,
yep.
I'm literally bulletproof.
Yep.
When I
Kevlar, big shout out to 3M.
Yeah. Big shout out to 3M. But you're literally, and you're surrounded by people that are highly trained. Like, it costs $7 million to make me.
Yeah.
Well, that's how much it cost to train me.
Yeah.
And I was only like a black hatter.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't a door kicker.
No, not a shooter.
A shooter. You're looking at $12 million to make that guy.
So when, you talk about Jason Bourne and all that, and everyone's like,
slow budget.
It's a movie.
Slow budget.
Low
budget soldier.
Dude, to take someone off the street, basic training, go to Singleton, postman to infantry battalion, put them through a rifle company, put them through a support company, put them through selection, get them over to Perth, do the Carter course, put them on patrol courses, do everything they need to do to get up.
Oh, you passed $10 million already.
Right.
You passed it already.
And then you get kitted up.
Yeah, and then we're going to go and we're going to put you in dangerous situations.
And then you're in urban, and then you're in amphib, and then you're in desert role, and then you're on deployment, and then like the money, like.
Oh, totally, absolutely. I've been a part of being a part of the war mechanism that gets people on the front line what they need.
Yeah.
In short, the way I describe it to a civvy is when you watch James Bond.
Yes.
I'm Q. I'm not James Bond.
So what's interesting about what you just said is it takes 7 people to do their role correctly and efficiently to put a shooter in the field to do their job at the pointy end of the spear.
Absolutely. It takes a maintenance team behind it. It takes a supply team behind it. It takes a training team behind it. It takes a administrative arm to handle it.
Yep.
And then it takes a battle training group to enhance it.
Yep.
So there's a lot of moving mechanisms in that space, and there's a lot of money that's involved in it. And people don't understand how much pressure is in that environment.
Oh.
That's before you go to war.
Yep.
You haven't got to war yet.
Yeah. You haven't landed on.
You haven't landed in a war space, and as soon as you land in a battle space, then I remember someone said to me, they're like, "You've got the deer in the headlights." When I first got to Afghanistan, they looked at me and they go, "Man, you got the deer in the headlights." I'm like. And then they realised because what I saw on their expression was, oh shit, that's what we looked like when we got here. And that was the thing that rattled me. I'm like, so you're battle hardened already, but I've rocked up clean skin, mid deployment.
Haven't glazed over yet.
Yeah, I haven't figured it out yet. You know, and I just when I try to describe, you got to understand when you're talking about PTSD, aside from acute trauma. Like, you know, if you saw a friend fall in battle, that's traumatic. That's not PTSD. That's acute stress. You're immediately stressed. That doesn't show up later. You're already stressed.
Yeah.
PTSD is one of those slow burn ideas that I think comes through identity.
Yeah, okay.
And searching for identity, like, for instance, you know, parents, they look for identity at being a parent.
Yep.
For someone who's not a parent, I look through identity through being an artist. I look through identity of being a Samaritan.
Yep.
That's how I find my identity.
Yeah.
Am I still on my camera? Yeah, I'm still on me.
Yeah.
I'm doing my own switching, and it's crazy. I'm having a deep conversation and switching at the same time. But if someone needs to understand that, the worst question that you can ever ask a veteran is, have you ever killed anyone? It's the worst question you can ask a veteran. It's like going up to someone that was in a car accident and said, so how many people died?
It's really interesting you say that. So just from my journey and my PTS, I was involved in a really bad accident in 2006, as you know all this. Now, in that accident was my best friend and my 12-year-old cousin. My 12-year-old cousin he perished immediately, and my best friend had extraordinarily high brain trauma, and he was in an induced coma for months, and he will never work again. So my interpretation of PTS, we can look it up in the dictionary, we're looking it up on the internet, we can talk to counselors.
It's a broad stroke. This is part of my point.
My take on it is PTS is experiencing trauma in a situation where you haven't been conditioned or trained for. So we break that back. We were in the military. So we used to do helicopter evasive underwater technique or tactics.
Yeah.
Where we would be put in a helicopter frame, dunked in water in the deep end of the pool, then turned upside down.
Yep.
And then we had to undo our seatbelts.
Follow the bubbles.
And escape. A lot of people that went through that, and even, it's pretty hairy shit.
The training itself is dangerous, yeah.
Yeah, and there was people that would freak out a bit during it. And even if you were the most calm, cool Arthur Fonzarelli MF going in the whole AO, you'd still be a little bit...
Oh, dude,
I've got a minute to get out of this before I start having a lot of troubles, right?
Yeah,
when you do that...
Panic is everything.
When you do it, and you do it a couple of times, and you do it a few more times, you start conditioning, you start understanding what it feels like to have water run up your nose, into your brain while you're upside down, orientating, where's that window I've got to get out of, and you train for it. And then the last couple of times you do it, you're like, this will feel uncomfortable, but I know what to do. So if we ever got in a situation where if our helicopter fell off the back of a boat and we're underwater, I know where my seatbelt is. I can close my eyes. Seatbelt's there, windows there, the pull ring's there. If I pull that ring down there, hold that window like that, hit my belt, get the belt off me, put my second hand up to the window, pull myself through the window, I can get out. And the natural thing for a body that's got a lung full of air to do is go to the surface. I'll be okay. Imagine if you're in a helicopter underwater and you've never done any of that training. That's some traumatic shit.
Totally.
So,
but even the training is traumatic.
But even as working in the workshop at 1st Battalion, we'd been in the range, fired thousands of rounds. We'd hung out with the infantry boys and done some cool shit. There's some stuff that I could have experienced that I wouldn't have got PTS off. I had never in my life been trained to be in a boat accident where my family and my friends were in such a state of injury that there was physically nothing I could do. I couldn't revive my cousin. I couldn't support my best mate. I nearly lost my arm. Both my legs were in traction. I had 12 months off work. You remember all this. I had to learn how to walk again.
It was a hectic fucking time, bro.
Ross, no one trained me how to do that. That's my PTS. And what would happen is, because you haven't learned how to process that, every night when my mind and body was still, I would replay everything that happened for that accident.
And you run it over, how to do it different. And
it come to you in black and white, and it would come to you with all the smells and the tastes and the sounds and everything, and you'd relive it all. And when people are going through that sort of stuff, having medication to help you sleep, having medication to help you deal, I think is great when it's complemented with getting the right professional counselling, guidance, assistance and tools. And don't get me wrong, I've had times in the last 16 years where I've gone, you know what? It's just easy to get blasted. Here's alcohol.
Totally.
Here's drugs. I'm going to numb myself to it because you know what? When
it's
I'm
an easy lean.
I don't have to.
You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand that lean as well. Absolutely.
To learn from what you've been through and to grow, you have to feel it. And sometimes that is a hard journey to walk, bro.
It really is. But again, for me, it comes down to identity, because you have to identify that and go, this is who I am now.
Yep.
This is what's happened, and this is who I am.
Yeah.
This is not because before the incident or before the trauma, I was this.
Yes.
And now you remove it because the trauma has changed the landscape.
How you process what is brought into your lexicon.
Who am I now after this trauma?
Yeah.
So I've been really in the journey of my own PTS. I realised that it's been an identity crisis for me. Like, and like there's been situations in my life that have really accosted me. You know, from certain situations that I've had to get surgery.
Yep.
From other situations where I was the strong one, where others were
not so much.
They were not so much. So I took the hit.
Yeah.
I took the psychological hit. I took it on board, and I made it all okay.
This is what needs to happen for us to get through it.
I need to be strong now, because otherwise, if I let go right now, it is going to fall apart in a really major way.
Yep.
So I've been through those things, but when I reflect upon it, all of that is identity. I was a leader that had to lead.
Yep.
And then when you put the trauma involved in that, you go, was I a good leader?
Yeah.
I'm having an identity crisis now. Was I a leader or was I not?
Yeah.
I was in control of the situation, but then it turns out I wasn't in control of the situation. Yeah. Was I actually in control?
Yeah.
So I'm having this identity issue with that control.
Or did that situation happen and then influence and move me, and all of a sudden I'm forged into something that was never my intention?
Yeah,
that's a shit stick to get beat with, man.
It totally is. It totally is, and there's nothing you can do about it.
No,
you are helpless to you are at the whims of that situation.
And the people like Black Dog, they understand that people will go through this, and then they do. Like Black Dog have a program that's just for medical professionals to go. We're going to give you a mental first aid course. This is how you treat someone that comes.
Oh, this is great news. Yeah, totally. This is great news. Yeah.
And when like, what's a good example? Okay, so I've had a really good mate of mine, a couple of really good mates of mine, ring me, and they are in crisis because they're on the other end of the phone. And while they're talking to me, I'm thinking to myself, I'm gonna have to find another phone while they're talking to me and ring a first responder and say, you need to get to this address.
Yeah.
Because I
been there too.
honestly think it's gonna.
This is it. This is it.
This is going to be the pinnacle of it. And all that's happened every single time, which is amazing. I'm a diesel mechanic and a shit one. And all I've done...
I think you do all right, Ben. I've seen your work, man. I think building the Army burnout car is certainly not someone's shit craft. I think it's a good thing to do.
And all I've done at the other end of that phone, I love you, mate. All I've done at the end of that phone is I've been there and I've said, mate, I'm here for you and I'm listening. And after half an hour, what happens is they talk and they talk and they talk and they're up here. They talk and they talk and they talk and they talk. And all of a sudden, after half an hour, everyone's about a 5.6 on the Fonzie scale. Like, everyone's real cool. And I've even had a mate of mine say to me at the end of it,
it passes, right? These emotions pass.
He goes, thank you so much for being there for me. He goes, I feel like I've taken a mental shit. He's sat there and he's just... all this stuff he was holding in. And
it's a colourful way to put it, but I know what you mean.
But do you know what I mean? Like, everything that's happened to you is so acute.
I feel relieved.
And you're going to explode, and you've verbalised it and got it out. And then all of a sudden, you're calm as a Hindu cow. You're like Cat Stevens listening to Enya, rub earlobes, burn some incense, scented candles, and you're chilled out a bit. And... all you've done is given them a space to be felt like they're heard, and feel like they can talk.
And then I think that's tied into identity, because all of a sudden they can now identify. Oh, this is who I am.
So Ross,
this is what I'm doing.
Why can't we teach that to
in schools?
15-year-olds in year 10.
That's right.
Rather than goddamn friggin' trigonometry.
Well, look, I'll tell you this, man. If you look at the school format that's out there now, it's based on a bell, right?
Yeah.
Do you know why it's based on a bell? Do you know why?
It's to do with the percentages.
It's to do with factory work.
I'm going to blame.
Yeah, you already know what I'm saying.
Henry Ford's going to get a blame for a lot of this.
Oh shit! Now I'm on.
Hey.
Shit. That's you.
Hello to everyone playing at home.
We were back to front there for a while, so I hope I had good responses. But the school bell is based on factory work, is to indoctrinate people to understand that it is a beginning and start while a bell rings. And I can't remember the psychological scientists that done these experiments. They ring a bell, do negative reinforcement, positive reinforcement with a bell, and they figured out that humans are quite the same. We can manage them and reference them to a sound, and they'll go and do things. And this is what the school curriculum is based on: by periods, semesters.
Yep.
Regimentality is the word.
Lunch, knock off.
Yeah, it is based upon to get you ready for the workforce. It's actually not based upon ready to get you ready for life. And I think that's what we're talking about.
Jim Owen did a really good skit years ago.
Oh shit, we're on you then.
That's all right. I did my makeup today and everything. Look at me. I look fantastic. Oh, I don't look a day over 70. Jim Owen did this really good skit years ago, and he talked about he pissed off with his dog because he goes, "Dog's got." I'm not going to do his accent.
I can't do his accent. I try it. I do it. I'm Irish, and I can't still do his accent.
He talked about he had the shits with his dog because he'd come home from work and the dog was happy. He'd go to work and his dog was happy, and he'd go, "This prick doesn't know what day of the week it is." And he goes, "It could be Saturday and the dog's happy. It could be Monday Arvo and the dog's happy. Like, this is crap." So what he started doing was he come home and he took time off work and he just stayed home with a stick and he beat his dog from 8 till 4, 5 days a week. And he goes, "That little fucker look forward to Friday afternoon."
You gotta love Jim Owen though. He has that way of coming across, right?
And especially when you put it in an Irish accent, you'll eat shit burgers for lunch if someone with an Irish accent serves it to you.
Tells you that story.
And you know what? On March 17 every year, that every Australian in the whole continent has that little bit of Irish in them.
I think they do. Like, you understand, we all come from convicts, most of us.
But original white slavery for this country.
Yeah, man. And I've recently learnt that in my family that there's Aboriginal heritage as well.
Yeah.
We didn't know that.
Oh, cool.
Totally didn't know that. I just thought that my tan skin come from World War One when great grandpa brought home a Italian mistress. Man, that's where I thought it came from.
Yeah, righto.
It turns out that shit ain't the truth. The truth is that Irish whalers were over here, and this poor lady, her whole family was murdered.
Yeah.
And then she ended up in an orphanage, and she fell in love with this Irishman.
And she was a First Nations lady?
She was a First Nations lady.
Really?
And who's my great-great-great-grandmother. and she married an Irishman who was a convict.
That's extraordinary.
But you think about that, like, because I think about that, and I think about other things like film production in Australia. Now, the first production company in the world to make film was in Australia.
No.
Yes, it was. It was called Ned Kelly.
Stop.
It was the first full feature-length production film ever made was made in Australia.
We can talk for hours about Edward.
Yeah, but
Hours about Edward.
Edward. But there's something, I don't know. This is where I get like all woo on this shit. I get all woo on it because I just feel it. I can't scientifically. I'm clearly a scientific thinker, right? And there's just things that you can't explain. And there's something about Australia that is a land that makes people that want to tell a story. If you look at first Australian culture, they were the first people for the last 60,000 years that were telling a story on a stage that had a fourth wall that was synchronized to music, where they told a story about Dreamtime, and they told the story of the past. They told the story about where we began to where we are going to where we are to where we are going. And they're the first people to do a story in a feature-length presentation. And the first production company, once the technology came about to do so, happened in Australia. If you look at the actor ratio and director ratio
Coming out of Australia. Worldwide scene.
It is phenomenal.
Yeah, right.
It is phenomenal. And I don't know if it's something to do with the sticks and the trunks of trees and the rocks.
But
I feel that that's a thing.
This continent has the second oldest civilization in the world. Outside of Africa, this is the oldest culture in the world.
I think it's the oldest.
Ross, do you know what the oldest man-made structure in the world is?
I'm going to go with a pyramid, but you're going to tell me different.
Date me the pyramid. What's the date of the pyramid?
Okay, so this is where it gets controversial, okay?
Give me best...
If you listen to enough Joe Rogan, you know it's controversial.
Just give me best guess right now.
30,000 years for the pyramids.
Mad. So the Wiradjuri people out of Brewarrina in New South Wales have got fish traps that date to 45,000 years old.
This is fucking true. You're totally fucking true.
The oldest man-made structure in the world is those beautiful Wiradjuri people out of Brewarrina sitting under a tree one day because fish was a big part of their diet going, this spearing fish is bullshit.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, but this is heaps of work. And those buggers sat out underneath those trees on the banks of the beautiful, what we call the Darling River, and they looked at it and they went, there's an easy way to catch fish. And they sat there and they went, we can catch fish by letting fish be fish. So they built a series of rock mazes. So as the fish swim up through the rock
as
traps,
young fish,
they swim all the way to the end. They got no way to get out.
Because they grow up and they can't swim back.
You walk in to water no more than between ankle and knee deep and you pick fish out.
Man, I'm dying for a piss, bro. I've got to go for a piss.
Okay. Pause it. We'll both
go. We'll go.
So basically, the whole point,
So
the whole point I wanted to talk about is the Wiradjuri people 45,000 years ago building fish traps is they say necessity is the mother of invention. That's some horseshit. Laziness is the mother of invention.
Totally. I want to do less for more.
Tell me the most Australian thing you've ever heard is 45,000 years ago, those Wiradjuri people on the banks of the, what we call Darling, but banks of their river, they're going, man, there's got to be an easy way to do not much and catch fish. That's like saying to the missus, how'd you go at work today when it was raining, when you're a chippy or when you're a concrete? And like, yeah, work was real good. It rained all day and you're at the pub. What do you think the Wiradjuri boys were doing? How'd you go today fishing? I bet you they didn't tell the wives about the fish traps for 100 years. How'd you go fishing down the river today? Oh, man.
So much effort.
All day. Like, we had to go and find good green sticks and we had to sharpen them. We couldn't find any good rocks to sharpen them. And the fish weren't on. The fish weren't biting. I'm really sorry it took so long. Finally got home.
It's a great scam. It's a great scam.
Dude, 11 to 3 under a tree, have a sleep. That's exactly how I live life.
Yeah,
11 to 3 under a tree.
Oh, man, I'd totally be down for that. Did it switch right or not? We're back on the right ones. But yeah, no, totally. It is. Some of it is laziness, but some of it is ego, though. Right?
Ego.
I don't think that's an egotistical thing. But pyramids are very egotistical.
Oh yeah.
Just saying. But there's plenty of studies out there because they go, well, they're 5,000 years old, right? And turns out that's not true. It's kind of there was a smaller pyramid, and then the next guy took over and goes, "Going to build a pyramid on top of the pyramid." And this happened several times, and they've actually looked through the cross section of these pyramids, and even the idea of masonry has changed through that. Like you can see the evolution of masonry, and you can see where society dropped off, and they went back to the old method because they lost the new method, and then rediscovered the new method again. That's how long they were there, right? 30,000 years, they say. And if you look at the Sphinx, right, it's clearly, when you look at the bone structure, they go, it's an African person.
Yes.
But over time, you take over the land, you go, cut that guy's face off and put my face on. Because if you look at the Sphinx and its body ratio, you go, it's a very small face versus the actual body size, right? Mm-hmm. Looks like a white guy, but then you look at the bone structure and go, but it was a black dude. Definitely a black dude. Definitely a black dude. So there was some dude out there at some stage that had figured out Orion's belt and go, alignment to the stars, make it happen. I've shown you irrigation. I've shown you these things.
Navigation by stars, navigation by day.
Yeah, we're traveling around the world. We got the Incas on this shit. You build me a building.
Horticulture, agriculture, mathematics.
There's clearly someone that stood out at one point, and we don't know who that someone was. And I'm saying that that's a fucking mad movie idea. If you figure out that movie, man, and they tried, I think there could be good attempts at that movie idea. But I guess my point is that we've lost knowledge and we gain knowledge over time. Go back. There we go. We went back. There we go.
One of the interesting ones that I watched recently was always talking about mental health and always thinking about mental health and improving our situation on this planet. There was a study done quite a few years ago, and what a guy come up with was the idea that if the physical part of the brain you can touch, I don't know how much you're into Hannibal Lecter, but if you can actually touch that part of your brain, the tissue that your brain's made out of is what they've called an omega-3 fatty enzyme.
Yeah, that's bang on. Yeah,
cool. If you break that down to the smallest element you can and still keep it within the English language, we will call that fish oil.
Yep.
So fish oil, that omega-3 fatty enzyme, that occurs within the flesh of fish in the ocean. So the idea this psychologist had was, if we eat more fish, then we're consuming more of what physically makes up our brain. Mm-hmm. So if we're eating more of what makes up our brain, therefore you would be healthier in a mental space.
Yes.
So what he started doing was a comparison of the kilograms of fish consumed per year by capita and the mental health rate, recorded mental health rate. Mm-hmm. And what they found was the higher the intake of fish, the lower the poor mental health scale was.
Yeah, totally.
So people that are eating more fish.
This is well researched, yeah.
So they took 40 people. He assessed all of them, and they all needed some kind of treatment for what they were afflicted with, what they were struggling with, what they were going through. Half those people were seen by him. Half those people were seen by another psychologist. Each group, half of each group was given a placebo. For that psychiatrist and that psychiatrist, half of each of those groups were given a placebo. Half of them were given huge big doses of fish oil, like friggin' 1,500, 2,000 milligrams.
Astronomical, if you will.
Astronomical of omega-3, krill oil and all that good stuff.
But spherical, not disc-like.
And you know what they found?
What?
All of them that were on the fish oil all improved out of sight.
Yeah, so they had cognitive improvement.
Absolutely.
Well, they call this neogenesis, right? So neogenesis is the forming of new brain cells.
Okay.
So you have different types of neogenesis. So the different neogenesis that you have, you heard of this as grey matter, and white matter.
Yeah.
THC stimulates grey matter neogenesis.
Really?
In the consumption of fish products.
Yes.
Grey matter.
Really?
Not white matter. Did I say that the right way? I can't remember if I said that the right way.
I get what you mean.
Yeah. The white matter is from THC.
Yeah.
If you have too much white matter, you're too feely. You got not enough cognition. But if you have a balance between white matter and grey matter,
yeah,
you have a really good balance with the world. So the lesson is smoke a whole bunch of joints and eat fish. Because
another way to put that is everything in moderation, including moderation itself.
No, moderation should be done in excess.
So if
Be excessive with your moderation.
if you're having a balance, what did Jim Carrey? He's another one that fell through and came out.
Yeah,
the other
he's
side.
another one of those. Yeah.
Jim birds. Anyway, so
Spent a lot of time in the bush.
yeah, stuff and things.
No, we were talking. We were on a talk because we were talking about narratives, and we were talking about construction of objects like the pyramids, the way that first Australians used to catch fish, which is like it's ironic that you say that because I've been looking into the first settlers and what they saw.
Yep.
And when they reported back to England, the dialogue shows that it was a savage land, that it was uninhabited,
Inhospitable.
Right, these are the words that they use. But when you look at and
you can't blame Cook for that. He just surveyed the joint.
No, he just reported.
He was an amazing cartographer.
Someone in between changed.
He wasn't even in the first fleet. You
No.
know how many people don't know that?
No, there's a lot of people before him.
James Cook was nowhere near those ships that come out to Australia for the first fleet. Did he sail past Australia? Yes. Did he cartographize?
Cartographize, is that a word? Can we do that? We can do that.
Anyway, he did the coastline because everyone thought New Zealand's part of Australia, Australia's part in Papua New Guinea, and England's like, hey, we need you to go down south there and check out the coastline because we think this might be a good spot to drop the convicts.
That was very well done, actually.
Thank you.
I'm believing it.
So the reports... So what are you saying? The reports that went back to England when the first fleet did finally drop off the boys in Botany, savage land, inhospitable, inhabitable? Is that the kind of thing
but it's not true, though. It's not what they saw. They saw undulating hills, and they thought it was really annoying to get... when you put wagons,
Yep.
they thought there's no trail.
Yep.
So it was these mole hills were annoying, but really what they were was observation posts and places to sit and look at shit.
Yeah.
You know, like because you look at, it is no secret. You look at Australian landscape, it's amazing.
Yeah, beautiful. But I've spent the last week going Melbourne via the coast to Sydney, and I'll tell you what, I've been romanticised and captivated at what I've seen between here and there. I'm not even a third of the way to Townsville.
You could take
which is not even a quarter of the way around the whole friggin' island.
That's it, man. You could take the most barren land in Australia, and you can go gorgeous.
Yes.
You can.
Yes.
The most desolate, most inhospitable place. And to find that, you need to pass the coastline. You need to get towards the centre of the country. But these guys arrived on the coast, and they reported that it was actually well kept and managed land. And you think about that, right? You think about that, and you go, okay, so the communication got confused. And there's one thing that you can call it what you like. But this way that it broke down was they sent convicts over here, which were the Irish unwanted.
White slaves, man.
They were white slaves that were sent here in chains.
Yeah.
They were sent here in chains. But the idea was to change this criminal into someone that was servicing the crown. That was the idea. So you take criminals
Australia's first police force was made up of the best behaved of the convicts.
Yeah.
So the best of the worst became the best of the best.
See, only the Victorian would know that. Fucking Victorians, mate.
There was a lot of underbelly shot in Sydney, my man.
I know, but fucking second fleet of fucking Victorians, mate. I'm just saying.
If you want to do gloves off Victoria and New South Wales, we'll have a couple of more little hair goings and we'll sort this out the back.
Yeah, look. I know that you have a strong affection for Beechworth. I get it. I totally get that. But I'm just saying that the first Parliament, though, if you think about this, right, the first Parliament was in Melbourne.
Yes.
Right, and this wasn't a colonised city.
No.
Because you think about that in context. In context, that means that we landed in Sydney.
Yes.
And people go, fuck Sydney.
Yes.
Going that way.
Yes.
Go down to Melbourne.
Yes.
And then they go, well, this is a good place of commerce.
Yes.
Let's put the Parliament here.
Yes.
That was the first place to put it.
It's a good bay. There's a dirty big island in the middle of it called French Island. You can put some battlements on that and you can defend your capital.
Yeah, but the paranoia, you need to defend it. How the fuck are you getting there anyway, bro? Nuclear sub, fuck yeah, you can hang off, but you're still going to be fucked, bro. Like, really? Serious? Worst thing I'd want to be is a Chinaman off the edge of fucking Melbourne. You're just going to get fucking... You're going to drown to death. I don't mean it in that way. I mean like a Chinese, like, bad guy. Like, it's fictitious.
Fictitious. But I know
it was a good save. It was a good save. It was a good save.
But first Parliament is in Melbourne. Was
totally.
in Melbourne. Absolutely. There was a large explosion of population after Sydney down in Melbourne. It was huge. It was huge, man.
Well, it's the same even if you look at AFL, right? So you look at AFL. What is AFL?
Well, originally AFL was VFL. Because
What was it before VFL?
VFL was born out of Melbourne.
Yeah, but where did the rules come from, man?
Oh, Gaelic football.
Gaelic football, isn't it?
Gaelic football, yeah.
Gaelic football is Irish football.
Yes.
And that's why it's popular.
Why would it be Irish? Because they made up the largest population. Actually, if you want to talk about interesting Irish convict Australian history, the most beautiful brewery that overlooks Sydney Harbour and the Opera House is the James Squire Malt Shovel Brewhouse.
Oh, wow. I thought, here me being a Sydney side, you think of James Squire, you think of Sydney.
But he was a convict and he got caught stealing malt and stealing wheat and stealing barley and stealing hops to make beer. Don't get me wrong.
Sounds like a good operation.
They still gave him 150 lashes, but the screws thought it's not bad beer. So what we'll do is we'll stop him digging holes and we'll get him to make beer for all the screws that are living in Botany Bay. So there's a beer called...
Bit of a shit deal at the time.
But everything was a shit stick back in 1788. So though James Squire got 150 lashes for stealing all that stuff to make beer. They've got a beer now that's a pale ale called 150 lashes because he stole all the stuff to make beer, made beer. It was good beer. They found out he made beer, tasted it, went, it's not bad. We like you. We'll only give you 150 lashes. We're only going to peel the skin off your back 150 times.
Only
we
to the
like
muscle and bone. Only to the
beer.
muscle and bone. That's really generous of the English. I'm really glad that they had such a...
Forgiving,
centered, empathetic look on life.
Yeah. I think James only had 9 wives. He might have fathered a few children on the first fleet on the way out. He was a bit of a...
root rat.
He was a bit of a scoundrel. He was a bit of a scallywag. Hope there's no ruffians out tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And this is the culture
Yes, where we
that
come from.
modern Australians build on. And then it all comes to its precipice in 1901, where they go, Australia's actually its own country. Yeah, well, there's been some people here for 200,000 years that will tell you in no uncertain facts that it's been a country for that long. So you take that culture that's been here for 200,000 years, you mix in all these white slaves that were here for 100 years, and then you get this amazing people that are a mix of races and a mix of breeds and creeds and all this sort of stuff.
That's
and then all of a sudden,
really cool.
how do you identify as a nation? Well, we've got our own flag. Yeah, it's a Union Jack with some stars. Cool story, brah. 1915, we go overseas and we get our baptism of fire, and all of a sudden, the rest of the world goes,
oh, yeah. Okay.
these guys are established their own culture. And I think for people like you and I that are very fortunate to have stood up and went, you know what? I want to do something bigger than myself. I'm going to go join the army. Right or wrong, if you want to get into the politics of it, cool. Buy me a beer and let's sit down and talk about the politics of it.
I'm happy to break it down left and right.
But
happy to do so.
Okay, I sacrificed my youth and my body for a cause that was greater than my own. Was it the right or wrong decision?
Doing something outside yourself.
Yeah, you can argue that forever. Was that the best thing to do? Was that the right thing to do? You can get very philosophical about it.
I've been a part of plenty resource acquisition mergers.
Right.
I've done that, yeah.
But it's still a decision, and a decision is better than no decision. But have I defended people while
they voted? Totally.
Yes.
Have I fed hungry kids? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have I stood where others will not stand? Totally.
And you can get attacked as much as you want on a political landscape for what you've done, but if you've never had an East Timorese, Afghani, Irani kid come up and hold you by the leg, and you give him a bottle of water, play a bit of soccer with him, don't talk to me about what you've done unless you've been and
one of the
seen
coolest things I ever did was in Afghanistan, man. And I was talking to this guy while I was on gun picket. Right? Yeah. Every soldier's favourite thing is gun picket, by the way. Say so in the comments if you're a soldier. Gun picket is the best. Everyone loves it.
vasectomy on the beach with a clamshell by myself.
Yeah.
It's a viable alternative.
It's quite painful and boring. But I had this fellow come up to me, and he was like the brother of the 37th mayor in the last 4 years.
Yeah, wow.
Right? And you go, and I, stupid me, I go, 37? What, you got? They had that many elections? He's like, no. And he said to me politely, his last 36 predecessors were assassinated.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, fuck, I just totally put my foot in my mouth. And you go, and we started talking, and because I understood at that point that he was quite a astute fellow. He was like very well read, very smart guy. Spoke multiple languages. Spoke Farsi, spoke Pashtun, spoke Russian, spoke English.
Yep.
Like, very well versed man.
Yep.
He goes, have you ever heard of A Brief History of Time? I go, oh man, you were speaking my language.
Yep.
I have
The
heard.
nerd switch and Ross Page went friggin' click.
You're talking about the Big Bang, man, and this idea of what's inside a black hole and beyond the event horizon. He goes, yes. Can you get this book for me? I'm like, oh, dude,
Oh, really?
easy. You want a brief history of time?
You want a
wanna read it?
toe? I'll get you a toe by 5 o'clock.
Yeah, man. Like within 2 weeks, I had him a copy of A
Nice.
Brief History of Time.
Yeah.
No, he's just when people captivate you.
Yeah.
He was like, oh man,
This is cool.
you're just a really cool dude in a really shitty situation because you're running bodyguard for your guy, and you're going to be the first guy that they shoot, and then they'll shoot him.
There's a reason why bodyguards get paid big money.
Oh, dude.
Crosshairs are on you first.
Oh, but by lineage, he wasn't hired. It's just his
was
job in the
born
family.
into
He was
that.
born to that position.
Even
Like,
better.
shit, man. I gave him A Brief History of Time. He goes, man, you've changed my life, man. I'm like, nah, man. You go read that book, and that book will change your life.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. And I that's one of the coolest things I've ever done for someone. Is like we're in a third world country, and he wants a copy of The Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. Like that's a book that I've read and only partially understood. And I know in very well fashion that if he read that, he would have a better understanding than I. And I have a deep understanding of these things.
That's wild.
It's not,
man.
and I don't mean that lightly.
Yeah.
I mean that in its true context.
Yeah.
We got this guy here he knows that his destiny is with a bullet.
Yep.
He knows it,
And between now,
and then he wants
And
to
that
know
bullet-
that book.
he wants to.
He wants to know that book.
That's mean.
Because he understands, he goes, well, this is beyond these religious ideas. It's beyond these ideas of engineering that have oppressed my people and that we, push against.
Yep.
It's against those ideas. What it's actually about is exploring outer space.
Yeah.
And he is certainly someone that understood exploring inner space because I had similar conversations about it. And this is what we've been talking about. We talked about Carl Sagan's big blue dot,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
This little speck, this half pixel. And we're talking about men's mental health and the exploring of that universe. And really, what we're talking about is, and I'm really glad to channel Bill Hicks here. It's not just about exploring outer space. It's about exploring inner space. Because if you can explore inner space, outer space is a prerequisite.
Yep.
It will not a prerequisite. It's predetermined.
Yes.
We will do that anyway. It's not about trashing this Earth to move to the next one.
No.
It's about occupying the next one.
Yes.
They're different things.
Look what happened a couple of years ago when all of a sudden we stopped being human beings and we went inside. The Earth started taking back over real quick.
It doesn't care.
The dolphins come back into the bay. The whales come back into the bay.
Do you
The
know
wolves come out of the hills in Italy and started occupying the outer regions of the cities. And we were locked up for 6 weeks. Dude, imagine if we got locked up for 6 months. Imagine if we got locked up for 6 years. Imagine, in George
100
Carlin's
years.
words, if the Earth went, you know what? This human thing that I've done for a bit's been a real gas, but I'm going to come up with like a disease, like an autoimmune disease where they can't even recover from a simple cold, and I'm going to wipe the humans off the face of the Earth. And you know how quickly the Earth would recover from us? It would be minutes. And
On that 12-hour clock? On that 12-hour clock?
days.
On that 12-hour clock, it would be seconds. The Earth has been through 6 extinction level events. It has. That's a fact.
99%.
Including bacteria. No, but that's
99% of every species ever occupied the planet was extinct
That includes bacteria.
before we come out of the trees and started eating crayons.
Yeah, that includes bacteria.
Bud.
That includes bacteria. Think about it. Like, bacteria got wiped out. Like, we can't kill bacteria.
Yep.
We've got things that fight antibodies now that are like MERS, they call it.
Yeah, yeah.
Antibacterial infections.
Yes.
So it looks at antibiotics and goes,
That's a good try.
yeah, we did that one. We did that one a long time ago. I remember that. It was a good game. It was a good game. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to kill you. That's where we're at, right? Like, we are at an extinction level event that's about to happen to us. And we're either going to get through it because 5,000 years ago, we thought the pyramids were made. Turns out there was an extinction level event that almost killed us all.
What's that? Men in Black. What's that saying? He goes,
There's a lot of Men in Black going on at night.
500 years ago, we thought the Earth was flat. 50 years ago, we'd never been to space. 5 minutes ago, you thought we're the only species in the universe.
Oh, dude, that's a really great saying. That's a really great saying because if you think about this, we were raised in a primary school environment that said that we were talking about a heliocentric model.
Yes.
Right? The sun is the center of the universe. By the way, the sun's called Helion, if you guys don't know.
People should definitely get into their Greek mythology.
Yeah.
It's
If you're
really
talking about
fun.
Earth, we're Helion 3.
So Apollo used to drag the sun chariot across the sky, and he had 3 kids, and he had Helios, Selene,
We're going to a turtle? This goes to a turtle?
Eos. No, there's no turtle.
There's no turtle.
No, because what happened was he gave the chariots. He gave the 4 horses that dragged the sun chariot across the sky to Helios, and he became the sun god. And then Selene, his sister, was the moon god. And then the beautiful Eos, she is the wonderful colours of the pinks and the oranges and the reds in the morning as she opens the gates for Helios to drag the sun chariot across the sky. And you know what the great thing about polydeity is?
What's that?
Polydeities obviously worship many gods.
Many gods, not one.
So when the Greeks,
monotheism, yeah.
Monotheism, polytheism. So this is polytheism. When the polytheism
Sounds erotic.
Greeks, when the polytheism,
Especially when they're Greek.
when the polytheism Greeks met the polytheism Egyptians, you know what they said? What's your sun god? Oh, we call him Ra. What's your sun god? Helios. Oh, maybe that's like your aspect of the same god that we worship. That's cool. Let's talk about all the other gods you got. You know what happens with monotheism? My imaginary friend's better than your imaginary friend, and I'm going to kill you over that.
I think it's even crazier than that because if you think about it, when it was polytheism, right? You had the gods of the river. So if you fuck with the river will fuck with you. Gods of the mountains, you fuck with the mountains will fuck with you. God of the earth, you fuck with the earth will fuck with you. As soon as we made it monotheism and detached God from the world, all of a sudden, all of our actions had no repercussions.
No consequences.
There's no consequences to
we
what we were doing.
Dam every river.
Oh, in fact, he gave it to us. It's ours to do what we
dig
will.
up every mountain. We have every resource.
We can
at our
burn everything
disposal.
to the ground if we want to.
Thanks for coming.
And there's no repercussion. When you look at, and I've always been a big supporter of paganism, except maybe the burning people at the stake thing, but I don't know if that's true. Serious.
It's definitely
serious
true.
as a heart attack.
Do you know 10% of
But the
people they burn at
monotheists I have
the
a problem
stakes
with.
when they were burning people at the stakes for witchcraft? 10% of the people they burn at the stakes for witchcraft were men that they believed were werewolves.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man.
Lichens, huh?
Yeah, bud.
See, I know lichen as like, it's a nutritionist source for when the apocalypse happens, so I have to lick rocks until I find a steak.
Everything you said is correct. I find no fault.
I
with
find
this.
no fault with that. It's a little bit kooky, but I can get around that. No, but certainly, I don't know, like monotheism, polytheism. I think I definitely agree with Jim Jeffries. I think we can all do better. I really think we can do better, and I think if we think about inner space and outer space, I think Elon Musk is onto it as far as being a being a multi planetary civilization.
Yep.
I think there's something in that.
Yep.
But I think we need to look at the laws that govern us at the moment, especially about depression. If we look, I'll give you an example. Like, this is a small example. I was talking to Misty today about childbirth, right? Like, if you look at childbirth from the 1700s to now, the rate of which mothers died increased from the 1700s. Prior to that, it was mainly babies that died and the mother survived.
Okay.
And around the 1700s is when we started modern medicine. You had white dudes that were white men that were doing deliveries rather than midwives.
Yeah.
So the power was transferred from a feminine spectrum to a male spectrum. And then they would center on, well, this child needs to come into the world. I will sacrifice the mother in order to keep the child.
Yes.
But prior to that, a midwife would say, well, this is your life. And if you can get this life out of you, we will do our best.
Yes.
But if it's between you and that thing coming out of you,
yes,
you win.
So
and it changed.
This is a 6-hour podcast.
I
by
know,
itself.
but it changed though.
If you look,
there's a turning point.
If you look at all the First Nations, Indigenous peoples across the whole planet, when you go through your journey as a boy to a man in First Nations culture all across this planet, you know who the last gateway is that you pass through on your journey be a man is?
What's that?
The elder woman of the village.
Oh, the mother.
Well, she's the giver of life.
Yeah, totally.
Us as men give to women, and women, when they take our gift from us, turn that into life.
Yeah, I see. This is what I understand.
They are the last passage. They are the holder of all the secrets. The elder women of these tribes were the keeper of the greatest secrets that tribe had. So you talk to all these, and especially just in my experience with all these beautiful Wiradjuri people that I've dealt with in the Yorta Yorta, their path as a man, the last rite of passage, they sit with the elder woman of their tribe.
And they do. And most of these people speak of Mother Earth. They speak of the land being mother.
The Greeks talked about it. Gaia, geography. That word comes from Mother Earth.
Yeah, totally.
Is that a mistake?
Yeah, but then you start. Let's see, we are going into a 6-hour podcast here.
I told you, man.
But it really is, because if you look at the Bible itself, right, it's totally gender biased.
Original sins or women's
original
fault.
sins,
Blah, blah,
women's fault. It's always male centric in the stories that are told.
Look, the whole Bible. Get hold of it. The whole Bible. Look,
I got away with that.
It's a good story. It's a real good story. You know what my favourite part of the Bible is? That one right at the back. What's it called? Revelations.
Yeah.
'Cause you know what the theory is?
What's that?
John the Baptist was doing mushrooms at the time.
Oh man, look, man, I can totally break down this shit, man. They have found chalices that contained ergot, which. Yeah, I'm onto it.
I'm toasting exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, but they found ergot, which is the precursor to LSD. And they found seraphims, which are the seraphims. Is that the right? The seraphs. The chalice that they walk through the church with that smokes off, right?
And seraphs is an interesting word because that actually comes from
It's
one of the orders of angels.
Angels, right?
Yeah.
And
so the Catholicism
they put
and the
dope
smoking
in
of
it.
it.
They put dope in it.
Yep. Everyone having a good time. Woo!
Great. Let's talk about God. Be good to your neighbour. Don't murder people. Shouldn't rape people. Don't rob people. And by the way, and it's only when they started saying the one and true God, the one and only God.
No. George Carlin breaks the 10 Commandments down to 2. Have you watched that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
2.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
That is my ethos.
That's what I'm drawing on. It totally talks about that. It's only people that are egocentrically worried.
Yes.
Scared.
Yes.
They go, I have to fucking invoke fear into these people, otherwise I can't control them. By the way, he's watching everything.
Otherwise, I can't, they can't. That's all ego.
All ego driven.
You know what happens when you drop all your ego? Peace.
Peace, yeah, totally.
Happiness. If you can exist in day-to-day life with dropping all that ego, that happiness, that will just fill you like a chalice.
Oh, it should.
Absolutely fill you like a chalice.
But they found that these speaking of chalices, they found that these chalices. Oh man, I mean the whole time, shit.
Have had residual.
Yeah, no, they found that that these were hallucinogenic experiences that they were having. You talk about the burning bush. It is DMT. You talk about this guy coming down from the mountain after talking to a burning bush. It's not really hard to put together.
What's interesting in the Old Testament is every time they talk about God, I spoke to God. You know how God always appears in the Old Testament?
Yeah.
As fire. Every single time.
How did
the Jews get let out of Egypt? Pillar of fire.
Oh,
Moses and the burning bush. Elijah never died. He was taken away in a fiery chariot. Fire.
Jesus.
Fire.
We've gone heavy on this Maker's Mark. Oh, wow.
Oh, good thing it's
I need to wrap it up.
Oh, it's only been an hour and a half. Good. I was worried about that.
No, we're into 2 hours now.
Oh, very good.
We're in the 2 hour mark.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Very good.
Oh, well.
Oh,
Back me on camera. Well, there we go. Oh, look. Thank you so much, guys, for hanging out with us. We've been here on a really long journey.
But this is even a podcast. This is just hanging out.
This is just hanging out.
People recording.
Yeah, there's people recording HD, ready to go to Spotify.
What was the name of that Highway to Heaven show? He wore that angel's hat.
It was called Highway to Heaven.
Highway to Heaven.
Yeah. It was called Highway to Heaven. I know that guy. He was from the Little House on the Prairie.
Yes,
yeah, you remember that show?
Yeah.
The Little House on the Prairie.
Love that.
And then, his daughter ended up blind, and the weirdest thing was, when I was in high school and I was watching that show, I was dating a chick that looked exactly like that chick. I'm and I felt really weird about that. I don't know why, but
because it wasn't like your TV was ever centered around television. Your life was ever centered around television ever. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, a little bit.
Do you know what I mean?
You know what I mean? I definitely know what you mean. But look, man, I think we should wrap it up.
We should. Sorry to everyone. It's just been Ben and Ross hanging out. It hasn't even been podcast. Just
we didn't really get much out of information, but if you guys have been enjoying the show, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. But most of you guys are moving across to fucking Spotify anyway. But look, let me just say, man, I really appreciate you doing this journey with Ken Oath.
Thank you.
And doing this journey for men's health. I think we covered some of that somewhat. I think we got there in a little bit of a roundabout way.
We covered some stuff.
We talked about trauma. We talked about identity. And I think that's something that is definitely an idea to move forward. And certainly talking about the universe and where we understood where we were to where we are to where we're going. As Doc Brown would say, this is where you are, this is where you're going, this is where you were. And I think it is very valuable to understand all of those things and bring them into contrast. And I really appreciate what you're doing, Ben. And I think,
thanks,
I've been following you online, and it's been awesome. It's been an awesome journey. So just keep doing what you're doing, man, because what you're doing is really cool.
Thanks, man. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I feel really guilty coming here because when I come here, it's just to see you and Misty. It's honestly just to see you and Misty.
I know.
And then you go, hey, you want a beer? Yeah, I'll have a beer. Hey, you want to do a podcast? And all of a sudden, it's just us hanging out like it was 20 years ago. But someone's got a headset on.
Yeah.
And you're recording. And next thing it's on Spotify and YouTube.
Yeah, man, we're going global on this shit.
Prestige worldwide.
Prestige.
Boats
worldwide.
and hoes.
Worldwide, wide.
Oh,
man.
At the Pagey train. See, that's how big the podcast is here.
All right, I'll wrap it up. I'll put a bow on this bad boy. You guys have been watching the Pagey Train, and of course you can subscribe to us on YouTube, but most of you guys are moving across to Spotify. And if you're going to do that, just make sure that you follow us, man. Make sure you get notifications, because we're releasing a couple of episodes each week. And a big shout out to all of the Pagey Train team. Misty, Wade, and Nathan from the past, and all of our guests, of course, resident guests that come back and forth, like Ben, and other guests that we have, and of course the audience. You guys make this happen, and the viewership is going through the roof. So thank you so much for being a part of it. But I guess what I'm saying, just to go back, listen to us on iHeartRadio, watch us on YouTube, watch us on Spotify, but either which way, follow the Pagey Train and you'll get notifications. You've been watching the Pagey Train, and we'll see you next time. That was a bit of a peek in your ear. I'm sorry about that. You'll see you next time. Being a bit rambunctious there. Totally baked and fucking drunk on this show. Thank you very much.